Now, the big plus right now about the Star Wars franchise is the fact that they do have George Lucas helping and aiding both John and Dave on exactly where the future of the franchise is really heading. We have George Lucas becoming a co-writer for many upcoming projects, be it Star Wars shows or movies that are currently in the very early stages right now, to really kind of propel Star Wars in a better path. And that's all because Bob Iger is very desperate and is very much trying to do anything that he can to really kind of put his footprint into a successful saga. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about George Lucas is that I really do feel bad for the guy because we got so many people coming forward, like J.J. Abrams, like how we talked about earlier today, saying how Disney really went out of their way to exclude him from the sets of the movies and to take care of any kind of, business that he was trying to get into the movies, to exclude that as well. I mean, it just makes you realize that Disney just wanted nothing to do with the guy in the long run. Nowadays, it's different because you have John and Dave gaining all these privileges over at Lucasfilm, and how Bob Iger is now very much a desperate guy, wanting to do anything to get the fans back and to be very satisfied. And sure, it may be driven by desperation, but at the end of the day, they have John and Dave leading these upcoming projects, so I do have faith. Now, the thing about all of this, about what George Lucas is doing, that's very much reassuring, has a lot to do with the fact that we have, of course, everything related to the Skywalkers advancing in the Mandoverse. Now, we know that George Lucas is really trying his absolute best with John and Dave to really kind of propel things in a better path, and to really just give fans, a very fun and surprising experience. So, moving on to what's really going on is that now that George Lucas is heavily involved in over 10 years worth of Star Wars projects, he is also working closely with both John and Dave on several others that will satisfy the fandom. Now, further, it's noted that currently Lucas is making some big revelations and surprises for the fandom, with many of the upcoming shows and movies that will be delivered to fans. Further, it's described, however, that one big thing that Lucas recently convinced Disney to do for an upcoming show has to do with a big-time reunion between two beloved characters. Now, Lucas is currently working on a father and son reunion between Luke and Anakin for The Mandalorian Season 4 that is said to be very emotionally driven and hold philosophical values for the audience to connect with the characters. Further, it's described that the scene is aimed to be a full-fledged 5-minute sequence in which Anakin is prepared to teach Luke a handful of lessons on the world of Ossus during the nighttime in front of his Jedi training temple. So, let me just pause here for a second. This is a scene that has been all storyboarded and illustrated by John and Dave, driven by George Lucas. Really, the fact that it's going to be based on the world of Ossus is a nice callback to Star Wars Legends. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but the world of Ossus is the world that you do see in the Book of Boba Fett, where Luke's Jedi Temple is located. And that, by the way, guys, is a great homage to Star Wars Legends. In Legends, that was basically the home of all of these powerful Force users that Luke actually seeked out and saw that they had the potential to become new Jedi. There actually were these people that lived on Ossus that were very powerful through the ways of the Force, that they didn't even call it the Force. They thought it was some kind of magic. They had no idea what to call it. So, moving on to the next big thing here is that they are getting Hayden Christensen back for Mando 4 to actually act with Mark Hamill, helping out with the recreation of a young version of Luke. Now, given that this is all post-Return of the Jedi stuff, you can only imagine what kind of lessons will be taught from Anakin to Luke, and that there is much to learn. We know that in the Secrets of the Jedi book, I do suggest that you guys check that out. It's basically a great book that shows art pieces, and the way that it's actually published is the story, or the actual wordings in the book, it's actually like Luke is talking to the reader. Like he's talking about his experience. And he actually does confirm in the book that his father taught him and guided him for many years. And basically that confirms in the canon that Anakin did indeed provide multiple lessons to Luke Skywalker. And that's basically what Jon and Dave want to do. They want to take that little hint from the Secrets of the Jedi book and throw it into Mando Season 4. And this is going to give Jon and Dave the opportunity to give their version of Anakin Skywalker in present time. Not in the form of a flashback, not in the form of a dream or a vision, but a literal present-day moment of Anakin Skywalker. And I think that's going to be very powerful. Now, the fact that it's going to be very philosophically driven, very emotionally driven, holding a lot of values for the audience where they can connect with the characters, is exactly what Star Wars needs to be. It needs to hold lifelike lessons that can really connect with the audience. And I think that, that's what's so powerful about the original trilogy mainly, is that it has a lot of lessons embedded in there, either directly or subliminally. And I like that. I love what they do with that. So, that brings us to the next scenario. Further, though the storyboard illustrations are already made, Anakin holds a redesign slightly as a Force ghost. He has somewhat longer hair and appears to have 3 glowing orbs floating around his Force ghost apparition in front of Luke. The scene is very much a callback to Return of the Jedi, in which Luke is sitting on a stone and Anakin's ghost is standing up, very much like how Obi-Wan was sitting and Luke was standing up. This powerful moment is actually said to involve Anakin giving Luke a piece of his mother's memory, some kind of piece of jewelry that is very likely the necklace that fans saw in the prequels. However, it is not clear just yet if that's what it is. Anakin and Luke are set to have a very emotional moment that will be directed by George Lucas for Mando 4 and written by Jon and Dave, which is still aimed to actually be the last season. So once again, given that they are still aiming for Mando 4 to be the final and last season of The Mandalorian, they really want to go all out. They want to do these great and amazing things for the actual series. And you know what? I gotta give Jon and Dave a great applause to that, because that really kind of just shows you their dedication and respect to the fandom, without a doubt. I mean, it really just goes to show you that. So, it really does make you very proud about what Jon and Dave are pulling together. Now, yes, I understand Mando 4 is such a far ways out. I mean, they're aiming for a 2024 release during the holiday season, but let's be honest, that could easily be moved until February of 2025, or even March, kind of like what happened with Mando 3. Mando Season 3 was supposed to, by the way, release in November of 2022. Then they did some additional filming, not reshoots, nothing that would spell any kind of trouble, but just additional shooting to lengthen the episodes. But that delayed them, and so they pushed it till March. And you know what? In the long run, I think it worked out. Because if they didn't have it in March, that would be one less show to be arriving in 2023. We would then be waiting until the summer for the Ahsoka series as the first show. So you know what? Props to Jon and Dave for pushing it to 2023. But anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys have to say about all of this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, fill me in below and I'll catch you guys next time.